Hello. Happy Friday.
Oh my gosh, it's Friday.
Whew. Thank you, Lord.
Yay.
It's been a long week. Oh, shoot.
And we're live.
By the way, we do not own the rights to this music. This is Maverick City music. Lean Back is the name of the song, if you can hear it. Just gonna give some time for people to jump on. We're gonna get started. I feel like I'm talking really low. I'm just kind of in that mood today.
Yes. No,
It's been a long week, y'all.
it's interesting to say
I'm exhausted.
the least. Yeah, sorry, we're doing all these devices, but yeah, it's been an interesting week. Yeah. It's definitely been an interesting week. Lots of I guess up and downs in the sense of like COVID and decisions and kids' schools and jobs and that kind of stuff. I'm like, and if you remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago we talked about the fact that we are both very much planners.
Yeah.
And so all of these constant changes
according to plan this week
are like, okay, but so
yeah.
The good news is we're here.
Yeah.
God
is still good.
God remains good. So yes,
kind of what we're talking about today.
Yes, it is. It is. We definitely live the lives.
Yeah.
Live what we talk about. So thank you for tuning in. Share, tag a friend. Can't wait to chit chat with you. I'll give it just a couple more seconds. Okay. Because we are early today. That's the other thing. We are early.
A different time.
So if you are tuning in, usually we do this at 7. But we decided to do it a little earlier today.
Yes.
We'll see how that goes.
Right.
So welcome, like and share, tag, tell a friend. If you are on my Facebook page, please, if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram @_Kindred Connection. Because we are also live on IG.
Yes.
And actually, I'll just mention, so we are Kindred Connections.
Yes.
2 generations, 1 purpose.
Telling the truth in total transparency. And if you don't know, I'm Alleiah Monet.
And I'm Dr. S, or Dr. Sha-Lai on IG.
Yes.
So welcome.
Hi. I think we're going to go ahead and get started on that note. So, we have a very interesting topic that we want to talk to you guys about today. And this topic stemmed from current situation that I'm pretty much still dealing with because it's kind of been resolved, decision has been made, but it's still kind of like, I don't know, it's still kind of just not stressing me out, but it's a whole thing in itself. So essentially, the overarching topic that we'll be talking about today is when you ask God for something and you don't get it,
right?
Is God still good? So this question came up because of a situation that I've been dealing with. So my car got hit while it was parked outside of my house almost 2 months ago now. And just recently I took it to a repair shop, I think kind of towards the beginning of this month, and was expecting my insurance to cover it, but sadly they declared my car a total loss. So that really broke my heart. So after, seeking some wise counsel on like what to do next, they were offering me a settlement, but I was just like, that's not enough for me to get a new car. Granted, I was one payment away.
The worst.
One payment away from fully paying off my car, and y'all declared it a total loss. And just imagine the range of emotions that I've been going through these past couple of weeks. And so, I talked to my insurance company, tried to barter for more money, because people were like, yeah, you should totally, try to see if you can get more, because you were about to pay off your car. If you have to get another loan, that's like another 5 years if you paying, yada, yada. So I'm like, okay, cool, bet. So I talked to Geico. I'm pleading, coming up with every reason to, get more money. I like prayed and everything. I said, God gonna do it. He gonna do it. He gonna provide. I'm gonna give me a new car. All of this. But they said no. They said no. It was like, yeah, we can't really give you more than what we're offering. So pretty much like take it, or I don't think there was really another option because I couldn't get my car back. So from that, I was like, wow. I was really hoping, praying, asked God to do it, and it didn't happen. And I was like, you know what? But God is still good, though. And so a part, again, of the overarching topic that we have is in those moments when you ask God for something in faith and it doesn't happen, or it doesn't come through, or it doesn't happen when you expect it to happen, because I'm still believing in God to provide something for me. So, but it didn't happen when I wanted it to. And so the next, or essentially kind of like the first question in that is, are you able to still say that God is good even when he doesn't deliver when you expect him to, or when you want him to? And I had to say, yeah. For me, soon after, once I got off the phone with my insurance company, I was like, you know what? God is still good, though. Like, at least I spoke up for myself. At least I made the effort, and fought, because I feel like I'm really, being set back because I have to look for a new car now. And I was like, whatever I got to do, whatever I got to say, just to fight, I'm going to do it. But of course, it didn't work out in my favor necessarily when I wanted to. So it's God still good. Even though I prayed, I asked him, I said, God, you going to do it. I worshiped at church, I was like, I'm believing it, before I called them. And I was just like, dang it, nope, it's not working. But in that moment, I was still able to say, you know what, God is still good, because I still believe that he's going to do it. He didn't do it when I asked him to, but that don't mean that he's not going to do it. So, what do you think?
Definitely a tough one. So, when you ask God for something, he doesn't do it. Do you still trust him? And I think, I know that we have to look at his resume, right? It would be unfair to judge him on this one potentially unanswered prayer.
Right.
Do I still trust him? Yes, because there are a list of times when I prayed or didn't pray, didn't even know I needed something, and he came through.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm not going to stop trusting him just because this one time I'm praying for something that may or may not be answered the way I think it should be answered. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would just be like so unfair. But it's like, you don't do it, and we're like, you know what, God, I'm mad at you.
Right.
I'm not talking to you, like the little kids. I'm not your friend anymore. I'm not going to play with you anymore because you didn't do this one thing.
Right.
And I don't know if we'll get to that at some point in this conversation, but like, what does unanswered prayer even look like?
Yeah, that's good.
So I don't know. I
don't know either. Do you?
I heard people say, you pray, and then it's either a yes, no, or a maybe. We'll throw out stuff like delay is not denial.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
We're speaking on it from a standpoint of like the answer is no.
Right.
Or appears to be no.
Yeah.
And then how do we feel about it?
Right now. Yeah.
That feels like no.
It does.
In the moment.
It really does.
Because I don't think I've ever heard the Lord say to me, not right now. Like it feels like a no in that moment.
Yeah, it
so
does.
If you ask him for something, it feels like a hard no, hard pass.
Right.
Then yes.
Yeah.
We still have to trust
him. Yeah, for sure. And that kind of leads me into one of the next points. And when in those moments, it's just kind of like, how do you know that it's a no, or if it's a maybe not right now? Is it, do you know when you ask for it, or do you know until you like don't get it when you expect it? Like, is that when you say, oh well, yeah, he must have said no? So it's just kind of like, how do you know? And then to tie in with that question as well, the question was, how do you know if what you're even asking for is in your will or if it's in his will?
Right.
Because that's a huge factor in regards to whether, when you're going to get it, how you're going to get it, if you're even going to get it, is it something that's for you? And so, again, as I was reflecting on my situation, I was like, maybe I was asking for something that was thought of by man, because granted, I got the idea from, other people that I was asking, like, what should I do? So I got the idea from other people. It wasn't necessarily that God was like, you know what, this happened to you, but I'm going to give you more money for it. I was like, this is what I should do? Okay, bet. Let me go ahead and, do what I got to do. I'm going to ask, I'm going to praise God, do all this stuff. And then when it came down to it and it didn't happen, it was like, dang, maybe that just was what I wanted, but it wasn't what he wanted. And so, again, the question now is, how do you know if what you're asking for is in his will? And do you not know until you don't get it? So, I think for me, just based off that situation, I think it's kind of challenging, but I think, I think it probably, you just find out with time. Because like with that situation, I wouldn't have known what the answer was, or I wouldn't have reflected or thought about it if I hadn't spoken to my insurance yet to know if they were gonna give me more money. And so once I got that answer, I was like, okay, this is a no. And that's when I started to reflect on, okay, was I really asking for me? What were my intentions behind it? And, why was I really wanting the more money? Was I wanting it so I can get a new car, so I can, boast about it? Or, what were my intentions behind it? Why was I asking? Because that plays a factor in as well, in regards to what it is that we're asking for and if we're going to get it. So yeah, I think it just kind of comes once you kind of get that answer, or some kind of answer, or after some amount of time passes, you kind of start reflecting and like, okay, maybe this ain't what he wanted. So
maybe this is not his will for me.
Maybe it's just not his will for me. Because he says he will not withhold anything good. So if I don't have it, it must not be good for me.
Right.
Yeah.
That is always a good deciding criteria. The word is always an excellent yardstick, and he says he won't withhold no good gift. So if I don't have it, maybe it's not good for me.
Right.
But yeah, like how to determine if what you're praying for is the Lord's will or your will. So as I think about this, I'm thinking about, so there are these like larger blessings that all believers are entitled to. Like all believers are entitled to life and life more abundantly. All believers are, entitled to prosper and be in good health, even as your soul shall prosper. These are, because we are King's kids, these are things that we're supposed to have. So those prayers, if we are praying about those type of things, then obviously that's in the will of God, because it's written in his word.
Right.
Then when we start talking about those specifics, like, car, house, husband, job, these kind of things, then it's like, okay, is this the Lord's will?
Right.
Or is this, kind of his will, but I'm going to put my spin on it? Or is it like legit?
Yeah.
Just something I want.
Yeah.
And I feel like, it comes with like this level of maturity of if this is the Lord's will or my will.
Yeah.
So like early on in our lives, we talked about the list that we had. So in regards to relationships and a mate, we had these very extensive list and characteristics that our prospective spouse had to have.
Yeah.
So it is the Lord's will, if it is our heart's desire to have a mate. It might be our will, though, for him to be, 6'5", 250 pounds, a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then we start making it about us. But the spouse part is the Lord's will. So I think when we start kind of getting outside the word and getting kind of into our flesh is when we can, if we're being honest with ourselves, we are like, oh, okay, no, I'm tripping. Yeah. This is all me.
Yeah.
This is all me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not a good thing.
Right.
And therefore he is withholding it. Because if he gives me this list that I've created, it might be what I think I want.
Ooh,
but it's
about it.
Not what I need.
Right.
And so he's just gonna keep that for me.
Yeah.
For a little while. But it could be some things that are the Lord's will, but just not right now.
Because it could be a matter of, are you ready to receive it? Because that's another factor. Are you ready to receive what it is that you're asking for? And then also the reason behind why you're asking for it could just not be good. So I think that's a really good point. This is kind of like inevitable for this to happen to me, but we're just gonna push forth because I had a follow-up thought. But I literally
y'all message her and tell her to start writing this stuff down. No matter how fleeting it may be, write it down because we want to know what's up here.
Yeah,
in her brain. Yeah,
but no, I think I was gonna say something along the lines of again the fact of like what it is that you're asking for. Because I love the fact that you made about it's about having a level of maturity. So you kind of know when what you're asking for is just not aligned. If it's something like you said, when we begin to put our wants on it, then that makes it not, what is good for us. It makes it not a part of God's will. And so we just have to be careful with that because, again, like you said, we could end up with something that we think is good for us.
Right.
And then you'll learn really quickly because I've been in that situation too. If you've, been keeping up with us, I'm sure you know. But yeah, I've been in that situation where I've asked for something, thought I wanted it, got it, and I was like, oh, this ain't what I really wanted. And so even with the car situation, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if I get more money, go out here and get a new car, it's probably still not going to be enough for what I really, really want. So I'm going to still end up with a car note, which is not what I really, really want. But let's just say my begging and pleading worked. I got the money. I went out here and got a new car. Now I got another car note that I'm going to be in for another 5 years or so. That's, I was so ready, y'all. I don't want my payment. But yeah, that was not what I really wanted to do. So I had to, take a step back and, pray. I'm like, let me use wisdom in this moment. Let me just, accept what the circumstance is and pray and just, do what I can with it. I can control what I can and, and just have faith in the Lord to handle the rest. And again, I think, it's just the importance of knowing what you're asking for, why you're asking for it, because sometimes you don't get what it is you're asking for. And it's not going to always be good or pleasing. And then you'll be asking God, why? But you wanted it.
You thought you did.
So, but yeah, no, that was all I had.
That made me think about something. I wrote it down, so I won't forget. But it made me think of the scripture in James where it talks about you have not because you ask not, and when you do ask, you ask amiss, so you ask incorrectly. And so it made me think about when we are we praying for what we actually think we're praying for?
Right.
Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say just broadly speaking, say, you know, Lord, I want more money. I want more money. Well, are we asking for a job? Are we asking for an entrepreneurial spirit or some kind of God-given idea? A lump sum of cash, which this sounds so morbid and sad, but like, are we believing somebody gonna die, leave us an inheritance? Right. Like, so just asking for like money. Yeah. What, you know what I'm saying? That's vague. Yeah. And that could happen any of those ways and probably 100 more. Yeah. And so then when it happens or doesn't happen, then we're thrown off because what we were really saying was, Lord, bless me with a job. Right. Or Lord, bless me with a creative idea that will allow me to supplement my income or whatever. But we just vaguely prayed for finances. Right. You know, Lord, I want to be married. Let me tell you. That's, again, so some buster could just come sweep you off your feet. You know, some like any number of situations could happen, and then you get in it and you're like, okay, so what I had meant was
right. Ooh, that's good.
Lord,
that's good.
Bless me with the man of God that you want me to be with. Yeah. That our ministry is gonna like. That's what the scripture is talking about when it talks about praying amiss. So we're, you know, saying, how do you know if you're praying the Lord's will? And, you know, how do you feel if he says no? Are you going to still trust him if he says no? But we got to check our prayer. Yeah. We have to check what we're saying. That's good. And then be like, okay, now if I have prayed this specific prayer that lines up with the will of God, I'm 99.5% sure is his will, and he still says no. Okay, I'm done. But if we praying is vague, could be any old kind of way, and we're not necessarily getting answers, we can't get mad at God. Right? He's like, I don't know what you want. I mean, I'm God, but I mean, come on, you gotta do better. You gotta do better.
That is very true. That is very true, and I think that kind of ties in perfectly with kind of like the second topic we were going to discuss tonight in regards to manifested prayers. So that just, again, we have to be mindful of what it is that we're praying for, what we're asking for. Because as heartbreaking as the situation was, it even caused me to think back on a moment, you know, a few months ago when in prayer, I'm like, yes, Lord, use me, send me, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm like, oh, is this what, like, is this what this is for? Is this like you using me? Is this you like, you know, trying to teach me something? Is that, I was like, ooh, I didn't know it was going to come like this. Right. But like she said, if I'd have been more specific, if I would have been like, yes, Lord, use me to minister to someone, or, you know, I don't know, allow me to be a blessing for someone else, you know, then, you know, it could have came in either of those ways. But I just said vaguely, use me, you know, and that could have meant, you know, whatever. Right. And so now in this moment, as I'm like, oh, dang, is this what? I'm like, I guess I can't really be mad because I prayed for this. So I think that's another important thing to consider. Is like when we get something, or when we're going through a tough season, or we're suffering a loss, or whatever it is, like, can you think back to maybe you prayed for this? Like, maybe you indirectly ask God to, do this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look like it right off the bat, but when you take a step back and look at it, you're like, dang, I actually did. Okay. So it's a matter of like, let me humble myself and ask God, okay, how do you want to use me from this? Because since that is what I asked for, and losing my car was not the way I was expecting. But because we're here and that's what I'm dealing with, I'm like, okay, God, you still gonna get the glory at the end of the day. I'm not gonna fuss. I'm not gonna fight. I'm just gonna sit back and be like, hey, okay, it's time for you to, work your magic so that I can again give you glory. Because though it hurts right now, I know that He's gonna cause it to work for His good. So, have you ever had a situation or a circumstance that you found yourself in and you thought, oh, well, maybe this is what I prayed for?
Right. Ooh. I feel like the time that comes to mind, and I don't know that I've shared this on a live before. But I remember, and again, this has been years and years and years ago. It was one day, and I saw me, like I was having a meltdown, like I was talking to somebody, and I was angry, and I was like going off, and I promise you, I had an out of body experience. And I saw myself cutting a fool, and I was thinking like, you is crazy. And so when I got home, I was just like bawling. And the really ironic thing about this situation is I was actually on like this 40-day consecration during the time. And I'm like, okay. So I get home and I'm like I said, just bawling and snotting and crying. And I turn on my TV. It was to TVN. Do they still have TVN? Turned on Trinity Broadcasting Network. Okay, it's not cable because I didn't have cable.
Oh, okay.
And Juanita Bonham was on. And if you follow me at all, you know I just mentioned like she was my TT. Back in the day, I just knew. And so I was like, the Lord, like he heard my cry. And so she was talking about sacrifice and what it really means to be a sacrifice. And so I'm like, oh Lord, kill me, cut me, prune me, just going in, right?
Yeah.
Phone call, young lady from the church. Again, this is years and years and years ago. And just a quick plug, she tells me about this book called Pigs in the Parlor. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that, but I'm telling you, it will help you snatch your life back to Jesus Christ. Pigs in the Parlor. And so it's basically about like casting demons out. And I clearly had some stuff going on with it. The Lord the Lord said go on a 7-day absolute water only fast. Let me tell you, that wasn't what I meant when I had said Lord, can you just kill me, prone me, take it out. He was like, oh, okay, because these 33 days you've been clowning. You're lucky. When you were supposed to be fasting and praying, you weren't doing what you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to help you. Oh. That's the one and only time I have ever done a 7-day water only fast. I'm not bragging. I'm not boasting. I'm not suggesting any of that. I'm simply saying, for this example, Lord, use me. Lord, make me like you want me to be so I can be the woman of God that you would have me to be. Okay.
He's gonna test you, all right?
I got something to say. But when I tell you, I saw me for me. Don't eat for 7 days. Don't eat for 7 days. Don't take a sip of OJ for 7 days. Don't. Ooh.
See, I've done 3 days, and I was like,
ooh. So that's what had happened.
Imagine.
That's what had happened, though.
Dang it.
So yeah.
Yeah. Those moments when you ask the Lord to do something, He said you're going to fast.
Yes.
You're like,
right.
It's too late.
Right.
You can't, ain't no negotiating with God. You can't say, well, can I do this instead?
Right.
Either you're going to do it in obedience or you're going to continue to suffer.
Right.
And God going to be like, okay, I see you're not ready. I can't do this yet. And it's like, we don't want God to, like, turn away from us. Because he'll just find somebody else. He'll just find somebody else if you're not willing, if you're not ready. He's not going to beg and plead with you. He's just going to say, okay, come back to me when you're really ready. When you're for real. Man, that's crazy. And so another question in regards to this question was, is there a way that we can prepare for what it is that we're asking for? And I think it just depends, again, on, like, how you're asking. Because if you're asking for something vaguely, like, I'm pretty sure I could have prepared to have to get a new car, but I didn't know that's what I was going to be facing. I was preparing to just be cruising in my cruise, all paid off. But, you know, God had other plans. I'm just like, now what am I going to do? I'm, like, distraught. I've been, like, it's just, like, again, this whole week has just been, like, my mind. I've been trying not to think about it or overwhelm myself with it because, again, it's done. Even though, again, I cried real tears about my car. If y'all know me, y'all know how I felt about my car. And to part with my car under unwanted circumstances was very detrimental to me. And I was just unprepared for it. I didn't know, again, I don't know what I'm going to do exactly. I have a plan, but again, it was just like, it was something that just had to happen. I was really, again, left with no option but to take the settlement. So it's not like I could have really had any other, like, game plan, or, again, I really didn't have any say in the outcome. So I think there is a possibility to prepare for what it is that we're praying for, but when we're more specific, then we can know, okay, maybe I should be reading this. Maybe I should study this. Maybe I should go talk to this person. Maybe I need to go on a fast. And, you know, all of these things, I think we can prepare for whatever it is that the Lord is going to, you know, use us for, whatever he's going to have happen. But, again, we have to be more specific so that we're not caught off guard. Because when I got that email that my car was a total loss, I was like, this is a mistake. Y'all playing. But no, it wasn't a mistake. And now I'm here. Rest in peace. You know the sad thing?
We're going to have a moment of silence.
Because my car wasn't that damaged. And I'm just, like, really sad. Because when I went to go get my personal belongings, you know, I was just looking at my car and I was like, they're literally just going to rip you apart like you were nothing. And I just, like, the image of that, I was just, like, really sad. Because I'm like, you were supposed to be with me. Not forever, but, you know, I was going to take care of you. I was investing in you. Planning to have you for a little while longer. Then, you know, was going to either trade you in or give you away, whatever it was. But, like, this was it. And so, yeah. I just can't, it was very unexpected, like I said, and I'm just really sad that my Jody, 5 years strong. But you know what, again, the Lord will provide, so I'm going to trust in and wait on him.
Y'all pray for Alleiah.
Please. Pray for And pray for Jody. I know she's a con.
Jody's a car. We're not going to pray for her. We're going to pray for Alleiah. Pray for Jody.
That's okay. I'll pray for her. I'll pray for her. Okay. Go ahead. You got something.
That was so funny. Well, I was just thinking, so we were talking about, you know, a number of things when we pray, how we feel when God doesn't answer, what happens when He does answer, especially when it's something seemingly extreme. And so, in Alleiah's case, it was the very sad departure of her car. An example I gave, it was, this extreme fasting. And just thinking about like how often sometimes our prayers, when they are answered, as you said, they're not answered in the ways that we expect. So it might be, we experience some type of loss or heartbreak or, some such thing like that. And it's not because necessarily God is mad at us or vengeful or anything like that. But it makes me think about, like Joseph, how he was having these visions of these great things that he was going to accomplish, but he also experienced the pit. He also was lied on by Potiphar's wife. He also spent time in prison. Like, things happened to him that, were perhaps answers to his prayer. Like, he's having these visions about, oh my God. So then maybe his prayer is, God, make me great, manifest your will in my life. And these negative things still happen. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as the thought of like, when these prayers are being answered, again, just emphasizing that they likely might not always look like we think that they're going to look. And knowing that, staying prayed up, like Alleiah was saying, staying fat, staying in fasting and staying in your word. Like we've heard people, preach, whether at our church or, Bishop, First Lady, or any of our pastors. You can't only pray when things are bad.
Right.
We have to like pray and read and fast when things are good. So we have our lamp of oil full.
Right.
So when the not so good things happen, we're ready. We're not like the 5 virgins standing out like, okay, now I'm scrambling to get some oil. If you are praying and fasting and storing up in the good seasons, when these things happen, however God may send them, you're like, oh, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember I prayed for patience, and now everything is trying me. Or I prayed for X, Y, and Z, and now these things are happening. So I think, kind of globally or generally speaking, we can definitely be prepared. The Bible says things are going to come. Like, not so things are going to happen. So that's why you need to do this. So, I definitely think, generally speaking, we can be prepared for whatever might come up. So,
Yeah, and in response to that, I was just going to say, like, our faith or the word itself is our shield. And if we, stay in the word, then we can, again, expect to be ready whenever something happens. We can expect to be prepared. Even like with this pandemic thing, I'm sure this threw a lot of people, out of, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but it disturbed a lot of people's livelihoods because they weren't prepared, whether it was financially, emotionally, spiritually, like they weren't ready. None of us were. But I think as children of God and as people who are consistently, in church, consistently praying, fasting, reading, all these things, we're just like, not that it's, that we're not being affected by it or anything, but we know who's in control. We know who's sovereign, and we know, who has the final say. So we're able to, rest a little easier. We're able to not, I wasn't one of the first ones to run out and buy toilet paper because I was just like, why are people buying, like, what's happening? I don't understand. So I wasn't concerned that I was going to run out. I wasn't concerned that, my needs wouldn't be met. I was just like, I know who my God is. So at the end of the day, whatever's happening, like, I trust him. That's who my hope is in. And so because of that, I'm able to, be prepared for whatever may come. Even something that none of us saw this coming, but it happened. It's still happening, and again, it was just really like a test of everybody's faith. I think like however you responded really, indicated like where your faith was or what your faith or who your faith was in. And I think again we can't prepare for these tough seasons, for these tough losses, for these heartbreaks. It's just a matter of like, what are you doing to prepare? I think that makes the difference because we can, prepare, but we can still, if we're not preparing for the right thing, something can happen. You'll be like, oh wait, but you can still be caught off guard. So you have to be doing like the basics again: reading, fasting, praying, so that when these trials and tribulations come, you can still have peace. You're not overwhelmed. You're not anxious. You're not wavering because at the end of the day, you know that God is going to provide. You know that, He's our, what am I trying to say? I can't think of it. It's such like a common scripture, but I can't think of it. He's our rock and salvation. So it's just like, when you allow the word to just build you up and you stand on that foundation, there's like nothing that can shake you. And as I say that, I kind of feel like I just ministered to myself because the way that I reacted to like losing my car, like that could be a testament of like, where was my faith? Like, why was I so heartbroken by this thing? And like, do I not? And it's not even, as much that I'm concerned that, I'm not going to be able to get around or I'm not going to be able to do this or that. It's just like, I think it was more so because I invested so much in it and I had these expectations for it. And then for something to happen outside of my control and totally throw me off course, I'm like, this is not what I was expecting. This is not what I'm wanting. So even in my conversations with God, I'm like, God, do you know what I was planning to do? I've been, making my payments on time for the past 5 years. Even with my insurance, I'm like, y'all, I've been making my payments. I've had my policy never lapse. I'm like, y'all can't, I think I got eyelash in my eye. I'm like, y'all can't do nothing else for me. But it still was just like a test of my faith because I just, again, was not prepared. And could I have handled it or reacted a little better? I'm sure I could have, but at the end of the day, God, His ways are better, His thoughts are higher, and He has a plan. I'm going to stand on that. So, yeah. Do you have anything?
No, I think that was really good, and I think it, tied into something we had written down, like how do you respond when when you do realize that you are in a tough season, that you prayed for, like whether either indirectly or directly prayed for,
right?
And I think you probably are experiencing what the majority of us would do. I don't think any of us like will wake up to a trial or a situation and immediately go, God is in this. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is good. Like I think most of us, it takes a minute to be like, catching up with our flesh and our emotions and our mind, catching up with our spirit man. Our spirit man may be good, but it may take us a minute to like fully get there and be able to articulate, like Job, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And, I came into this world naked, and all these things we tell ourselves once we kind of get there. So I think it's natural to have those kind of human emotions, the grief, the anger, the frustration, all the, if you don't know about the 5 stages of grief, you're like going through all that, and then you're like, you know what? The last thing is acceptance. So, you know, God is good. He has it all under control. I'm going to trust him no matter what it looks like. And people get to that at different stages.
Yeah, that's true.
In their life. So I don't think we can beat ourselves up about that. I think we have to just recognize that it takes time, but we get there. We do get there. I feel confident in saying that the majority of us do get to that place where we're like, you know what? I don't understand it. I don't like it. Yeah. I didn't realize this was going to happen when I prayed for this. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be a better person because of it. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think I'm approaching the acceptance stage. I can't think of what all 5 are, but I've definitely acknowledged it. I think that's one of them. Or
so it's denial,
I'm not in
bargaining, depression, anger, acceptance.
Yeah. It's just like once you realize you can't change it, it's no good. It doesn't serve you to sit in those emotions. Granted, that's hard depending on the circumstance. Everybody's processing time isn't the same. Like she said, eventually we get there, but for me, I had to just constantly remind myself, like, because even when my car first got hit, I went to God. I was like, you know what? I don't know what it is, but I'm expecting some type of blessing out of this. So was I expecting my car to be declared a total loss? No, I was just honestly expecting for me to not have to come out of pocket for anything. That's what the blessing was going to be in my eyes. But that's my level of thinking. So now that this has happened, I'm like, okay, God, you must have something greater. So I'm not going to continue to wallow over this thing that I've lost. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to accept it. I'm going to do my best to move on. My car was my baby, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not going to be too attached to that because God has something greater. And we have to be willing to let go of some things in order for him to give us something better. So yeah, I think, at the end of the day, we have to just really acknowledge God and say, you are still good. I'm still going to trust you. I know you have, a better plan for me. I know you have my best interests at heart. And even though I can't see it, I'm still going to believe it until I do. And so, yeah.
That made me think. There was one thing when we were talking about praying and maybe God saying no. We were asking ourselves, like, how do you respond when God doesn't do what you demand? And I thought that was so interesting. Because we use the word demand.
Yeah.
But like
he
does say ask and request and petition and supplication and all of those kind of things.
Also says if it's in his will.
Right. But it was kind of interesting to me as we were talking about, like, going through these stages of grief, like if he doesn't do it, like, who am I? Like, you know what I'm saying? Even if I get mad or depressed or try to bargain with him or deny that it's happening, at the end of the day, he's like, look here, dust. Dust that I love, dust that is the apple of my eye, and I,
formed
will bend over backwards for you. But at the end of the day, he's like, you tripping. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I don't know.
That's a good point.
You know, like I shared last week, a lot of times when I'm trying to make it make sense to me, I think about my relationship with my child. And when I have like done, and then I don't do something, and he gets an attitude, I'm offended. I'm like, bruh, I have done this, and like I start going down the list, and you're upset because it is one thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, I would assume God as the ultimate father
probably
is probably like, yeah. Chick, you tripping. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, I woke you up this morning, you know blood's still going through your body. You know you breathing, right? Like, you know, if he went down the list of all the things that he does, and then I get upset because I asked for this one thing, and he doesn't do it at all, or doesn't do it in the time frame that I think, or doesn't do it in the way that I think he should. And then I got the nerve to, like, say something? Right. The audacity. You know, so yeah. I don't know. Like, I think sometimes we kind of think we are more than we are. Like,
we really do.
We kind of give ourselves a little too much credit, and God not enough. So and I was sorry, just gotta say it real fast. That is part of the reason why I love old school saints when they're like, if it's the Lord's will. Because that, like, seals it. Like, you know what? I can pray and snot and cry and fast all day. If it's the Lord's will, it'll happen.
No, for sure. And I think, you know, I think I mentioned earlier, that's why at the end of the day, after we realize that we have to just humble ourselves and be like, you know what? Like I said, we get upset, we get super emotional about these things, but, like, God is looking at us like, do you want to be used or not? Like, like, do you trust me or not? Like, we have to just be willing to accept the things that happen. They're not always going to be good. They're not going to always feel good, look good. You know, they're not going to always make us happy. Some things are going to be painful. Some things are going to be heartbreaking and sorrowful. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that, you know, we're just mere vessels. Like, we are here to serve him. And so how he decides to use us, whatever he's calling us for, like, either we go with it or we don't. Because, you know, as we were talking about last week, we have free will. We have a choice to whether we want to do it his way or we want to do it our own way. So, you know, and I just think we just have to make that decision. It's a decision we have to make daily. Like, am I just going to humble myself and be a servant for the Lord? Or am I going to, you know, try to push for my way here and there? Am I going to try to make it happen if he didn't answer me right away? You know, all of these things. And then, again, we end up in a situation that's not good for us. We end up getting something that we didn't deserve, we didn't earn, that wasn't meant for us, but we wanted it because we saw somebody else had it. Or this worked for somebody else. So now you're like, well, why when I asked it didn't happen? Because it wasn't for you. And I think, again, we just have to be willing to be used by God in the way that he sees fit. So that is that.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to end it. Yeah. To the Lord, use me however you be. Be like Isaiah. Send me, Lord, I'll go. Whatever that looks like. If it's a boat ride to Nineveh, you know, that's slaying a giant, cool. If that's dealing in a pit or a prison, I got you. Hey, Sister Blue. You know, and mean it. Right. Because it's going to come. Like, as soon as you speak it, it's going to happen. Yeah. But that is such a beautiful testament and testimony that you can use to share with someone else of the goodness of the Lord. So, yes. As we wrap up, thank you all. As usual is tuning in with us. Again, follow us on Instagram at _Kindred Connection. I want Alleiah to take a moment to give a shout out about some stuff she has going on.
Yeah. So, if you don't know, Monet's Truth, the 28-day devotional, is available for sale right now. So you can hit the link in my bio or send me a DM either on Instagram or Facebook. Both Alleiah Monet, you can find me under those names. 28-day devotional intended to help you strengthen your faith, to become more consistent in your reading, in your fasting, in your time with God, deepen your relationship with him if you're in need of that. So I would definitely encourage anyone. It's for men, women, new saints, old saints, Anybody.
Yes.
Anybody.
It's so good. I'm reading it right now. So
anybody. Good. So that's that. And then on August 21st, I will be speaking at a Selah event, which is a prayer conference, at least I call it a prayer conference, hosted by the wonderful Dr. S. And we will be discussing intercession. And I'm really excited about this. So if you haven't gotten your ticket or registered yet, you can do that at aboutfacecollaborative.com, which she can give you some more details about that because she has some cool stuff going on too.
Yes, thank you. So yes, definitely register, ladies, for a Selah event. I mean, I know we were, kind of nervous and being careful with COVID, and we totally understand that. So we will be practicing all of the regulations, hand sanitizer, face masks, be seated 6 feet apart, and all of that good stuff. And the word of the Lord is going to go forth. I'm super excited that Alleiah accepted the invitation. We also have Sister Anita Hayes, who, if you don't know her, be sure to follow her on Facebook. She has intercessory prayer most mornings at like 7 in the morning. So totally epic. And just wonderful woman of God. So I know that the Lord's going to move. So yes, you can register at aboutfacecollaborative.com. You can cash at me. So DM me. I'll give you all the details. Also on the website though, you can order your tshirts. So I have on one right now that says I used to ask me how. So a very cool way to get people to be like, what does that even mean? And you share, your testimony or what you used to do before you met Christ. We have t-shirts and mugs. We have SISTAH going on, which is sharing intimate stories that achieve healing. It's another opportunity for any person, as Alleiah said, any woman, young, old, seasoned, new, like whoever, because we all have a story to tell. So that, I'm sure there's something else. We both also actually have blog posts that you can read. So I hope it's romantic if you hadn't seen that. Not your typical love story. We did like a combined collaborative blog called Some Things Take Time. And so we're doing some really cool things with that. Just so lots and lots and lots of stuff going on. So definitely check out our websites. So either monetstruth.com or aboutfacecollaborative.com.
New blog series coming soon.
Ooh, exciting. I can't wait. So so we just are so grateful that you guys continue to check in with us. We can't believe this is episode 15. Like when we started this, we were like, let's just do this while we're like on lockdown. Right. And here it is. I don't know, almost 4 months later. Yeah. And we're still doing it. So thank you for, just sticking with us. Yeah. DM us with topics or questions. We are open book, so we would love to hear from you. You want to close out? Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for tuning in. And we're going to go ahead and close out. Thank you for tuning in to Kindred Connection. 2 generations, 1 purpose.
Telling the truth in total transparency. We love you guys. Bye.